Thank you for joining us and those who will continue joining, coming in. I'm Taki'h.
I'm Lennart.
Right. When he first got on, I was like, oh, what a contrast. Our backgrounds. Lennart's in Miami, or I don't know Miami, but you're in Florida. Yeah. And I'm in Finland, and I'm at Nicola Temple. And we have the great honor of receiving Lennart soon, in just 3 months, 3.5 months.
Wow.
I know. I realized that today. Right. So Lennart with Undivided will be kickstarting our 2022 schools program. And this temple is dedicated to our evolution as souls on this planet and to humanity's evolution. And so there's no better offering I can think of to kickstart the 2022 program. And personally, I'd love to hear a little bit.
I don't hear you anymore. Now I hear you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's a little glitch.
Yeah.
All right. So personally, I'd love to know about how the inspiration to, you sent me the picture, it was the herbus and, the description, and it's just, like my body was just like, yes, oh my God, this. Oh. But I want to know where the inspiration, like what in you or your journey, or what about what's happening on the planet, like what's the seed of this, how was it birthed?
Oh, I've never been asked that question. I don't even know if I asked myself that question yet. So this training is basically the live version of an online training I did pretty much in the beginning of the pandemic, I would say, or when it started to go into lockdowns, and it went from a global health situation, it started moving into a crisis, and people started really feeling like, wow, what's happening here? And in that environment, we did a very deep, very vulnerable 3-month immersion into these topics of liberation, love, and leadership, which I will probably explain a little bit later in this interview. And it was very clear that this training wants to happen in flesh and blood, and that we actually need to come together and feel this work and feel each other in it. And I don't really know where the original seed of this training came. It was suddenly just clear that it has to happen. I was in the process of writing a book, which has the same title and the same content. And I felt like I would probably take another 1 or 2 years till I'm done with this book, but the content is needed now. I can't wait to come out with this message and to invite people into this journey of meeting death. So I felt pretty early on that this pandemic is about our broken relationship with death. And it's pretty much Earth trying to point us to an essential relationship with life that is not working if we're not in bed with death. If we are escaping the very idea of death, we can't really fully live and move through developmental crises like this. So I felt like we need to do this work now. We need to come together, and we need to die together and start making friends with this essential aspect of life. And everything else was just clear then. I've spent most of my personal and spiritual development early on with Zen Buddhism. So I've hung out a lot of time in the non-dual realm and thought that this is where the answers will come from. And way later, much later on, I was introduced to embodiment by my friends Buster and Rachel, who then took me into a very different life journey and started working with the body and starting understanding how essential it is to start becoming intimate with our nervous systems, with our survival instincts, to start understanding where the obstacles in our flesh and blood are that separate us from an experience of not being separate with, of not being one, of being one with this planet. Now I have too many no's in there. So this training basically is about having experiences and insights and moments of pure attention, where we realize that separation is an idea, is an experience, is a transitory developmental phase in our life that allows us to step into individuality, to discover our agency, our purpose. But at some point, it's necessary to move into identification and become part of the whole again, to also really fully feel and sense that we are this living planet, we are this moving soul in this cosmos, and there is something bigger to be discovered and to be done in this lifetime than just to get stuck in our individuality.
Yeah, as you speak, I'm reminded of the first time we met, because we haven't actually physically ever met, but you were so highly, and there's not really anyone else that I have invited to be part of the curricula here at Nikila Temba who I haven't met, I haven't worked with, or I haven't been on the receiving end of their work, you know, like it's not a venue. But you came so highly recommended by mutual friends, John Darrow, Celeste, and others. And it was just like, okay, let's meet, on Zoom. And you started speaking and I started crying. And there was just this huge opening, like everything that was coming out of your mouth could have come out of my mouth. Like, it just feels like there's just such a soul alignment with what you stand for, with what moves through your being, with what you're passionate about, what you're dedicating your life to, that it's like, drop everything, world, this, it's like this, that's how it feels to me anyway. And so, yeah. And this prioritization, and some people might, right now there's so much happening, with waves of illness and lots of now next round of shaking up and movement and loss and change and chaos, and unknown, etc. And maybe some people would shy away from, for example, you mentioned death and becoming friends with death. And, that I think I told you that time when we were talking, I was like, I have memento mori. And you were like, I want that tattoo. You're like, I'm getting that tattoo. I was like, I already have it. Remember death. It's just such a big part of being fully alive. And so just to kind of go a little bit deeper into how, there might be all this other stuff happening on the surface, but really what we're being asked to is to go so much deeper than that, and to come into right alignment with ourselves, with other humans, with the planet, and we're so off course. And so you mentioned also some other pillars, which you said you'll speak about later. So maybe this is later, about love. And anyway, tell us about the pillars, and also about how death, is actually, some people who aren't friends with death yet, or scared of it, or, it's happening around them and they're losing loved ones right now. And there's pain involved, that actually this is a portal. And that it's difficult to say that, knowing that, like, we're still breathing, saying that, but there's definitely it's a portal, and the ancients and every tradition and every lineage, shamanic, esoteric, anything has held this, as one of its key cornerstones. So anyway, please expand.
Okay, well, those are two very big questions, the pillars and death. I'm trying to feel what makes more sense to go into. So maybe I start even a step further. One of the biggest tools we're going to use in this training is attention. So what is our focused attention focused on? What are we conscious of right now? And that's probably the biggest developmental tool we can use, because everything that we're trying to achieve in this training is already true right now. So we are already identified, we are already whole, we are already perfectly integrated into this living planet. There's nothing to achieve, but we're not aware of it. So we will work a lot with attention and trying to transcend and penetrate these neurological filters that have grown over time in our culture, through our survival instincts, through our experiences, through our fears, our projections, that we experience the world in a certain way, which is through attachment to our individuality, to our ego, our sense of self, our identity, that we are investing so much time to improve the identity, our picture, how we see ourselves, how we think others see ourselves. And all these aspects are distracting us, are taking our attention away from what the raw experience in this moment actually is, and how profound, how interconnected, interdependent, interpenetrated my beingness right now already is. So when it comes to death, what we're trying to do there is also challenging all these cultural aspects we've put over the experience of death. When we say the word death right now, we're not actually resonating, we're not actually vibrating with the true experience that death is in the journey of life. We are basically just thinking of all the terrifying ideas our culture has around death. So we connect it to loss, we connect it to an ending, especially the ending of this ego, this identity, this sense of self, this pure idea that we are a subjective being, and that will end because of death. So our whole life, we're basically terrified. At some point, we have enough maturity and experience that we accept that that will happen at some point, but we're still like terrified. We want it to happen as late as possible. And we connect it to the end of this biological system that we inhabit for a while, or that we're conscious of and attached to. But for me, death is not that, or not just that. Death is the one developmental stage gate in the universe. It's the cosmic mother that's birthing us into the new, into the more inclusive, into the more expanded, into the more integrated. So whenever something limited, like our sense of self, our idea of separation, our cultural values, our judgments are coming to an end where they don't work anymore, death is the moment, the experience where we let go of them and we enter this birth canal, we enter the womb of not knowing again, and we trust, we surrender, we give ourselves fully into being washed off the attachment we've built up over some time, and we birth ourselves or let ourselves be birthed into something new. And this is fundamentally what death is for me. It's this moment in time where all our knowing, all our complexity, all our predictions and projections are coming to an end. And we are birthing ourselves into something that includes them, but goes beyond them. And it's pretty much our fear of that moment that we want to deal with. The experience of death is utterly beautiful, is driven by love, by expansion. It's an experience of becoming one with everything again, being utterly accepted, held, and feeling our consciousness expand. But our relationship to it, that's where all the fear and all the terror comes in. And death is that stage gate that asks, are you guys ready? Are you ready to let go of what you're holding on to right now and surrender into something bigger that you cannot see? So it's a question of trust. It's like, do you move through this door without knowing what's on the other side, trusting that there is something more expansive, more inclusive, more life-affirming on the other side? And getting into this capacity is pretty much what this training is about. And this is where these three pillars come in: liberation, love, and leadership. And this is also what the three modules of the training are going to be focused on, what the 3 weeks are going to be focused on. And we're going to start with the first pillar of liberation, which is the journey of inner integration. So this is the journey where we start building relationships between our fragments inside, where we start looking into this shattered vessel that we don't experience as whole yet, but that is already perfectly whole. And we start building relationships between parts, between the unconscious and the conscious, between the body, the mind, the heart, the soul, between traumatic fragments of our personality. So we're going to look at all these phenomena that are obstacles between what we experience right now and an experience of wholeness. And the three most important ones are getting a profound regulating relationship to our body and our nervous system, and really becoming aware when we are in the capacity of presence and compassion and curiosity and creativity and calmness and presence, and when we are collapsing into survival instincts, where our animal takes over and constricts us and makes us tight and tense and wants us to change the world, change something in our environment so we can feel more safe and more protected. And we want to become really aware when these moments happen so that we can transcend that, include the wisdom of these instincts as well, but transcend the limitation, the constriction they have on our life force. And we're going to look at projections and shadows. So we're going to deal with our collective and individual subconscious. We're going to look at how we perceive the world in a way that it isn't, because we are afraid of certain parts within ourselves. And we're going to look at trauma. We're going to look at how certain experiences in our lives have made us feel so overwhelmed and so disconnected that we split certain parts of our emotional experience off from our awareness so that we could stay here in this body without being overwhelmed by the intensity of emotions that are still waiting for us to be felt. So that journey is the first module, the first week, dealing with the inner fragmentation. That's week one.
Week one, folks. That's week
week one.
I was like, this is a map on how to get through this, this global initiation, global crisis. And oh no, that's week one. Okay. Yes. Tell us more.
But yeah, that is the map for the internal journey. But then obviously when we become whole, the moment of death where the separation ends, we also become aware, like, okay, what's the whole that we are also a part of beyond that internal wholeness? And that's where leadership comes into play. That's where the idea of the external integration now is happening. Now that I am at least in a process of becoming whole, how can I be of service? How can I listen so profoundly that I notice where the external world is in fragmentation and in separation? And how can I now use my awareness, my knowledge, my presence, my capacity to deeply listen to what's going on, to meet conflicts, crises in a different way, to be in service of my purpose of living in this fragmented world? So how can I become an agent, a participant of the global collective transformation that humanity is about to go through? And that's the leadership module. We're going to use different tools to now turn the focus from inside to outside and notice, okay, where is there contradiction happening here? Where is there separation that I'm participating in? Where is there polarization that is not life-affirming, that is taking us apart? And how can I use this capacity I've built to be more present, to be more safe, more aware, to overcome this contradiction, to create more wholeness outside? And then last but not least, there's this little module about love, which in the end is through the back door, the biggest of them all, because this is the arena where all this work is happening. Love is what I use in this work as a word for relationship, and relationship to the planet, to other people, to other cultures, to myself. Relationship is the arena where the journey of integration and development and identification happens, through becoming present, through becoming aware of contradictions and how to create relationship between them, how to use my desire, how to connect to eros, how to use life force to actually allow the cosmos to integrate itself, to become a participant in that process. Yeah, that's what these three modules are about. And having a conscious relationship to death is necessary, because whenever we come to a new contradiction that wants to be transcended, that wants to be included, we have a small moment of death. We have this moment where we need to accept that what's beyond this contradiction is invisible to me. And I need to trust, I need to make this leap of faith to let go of my attachment, my fixation on this level, and allow to transcend to the more complex order, the higher order of complexity, where this contradiction can be integrated, where I can discover something new, where it's and not either or. Yeah, I think that was a lot of words. So take a deep breath and a sip of water.
And a sip of water, yeah. Because for me, the way when there's soul turn on, like my body is turned on, like I'm like, oh, it's getting hot. Like, oh my God, this is so exciting. This is like, that's just my natural response, is that if there's a resonance, my body tells me so. And that's not something to hold back, that's something to rejoice and celebrate. And I'm rejoicing and celebrating that you said yes to this invitation, and that we could meet there. And so actually I want to ask about that. I want to ask about that. We don't know each other personally, like we don't have a ongoing relationship, we haven't worked together, I already said. So what was your yes to bringing this work to Nicola Temple? And I remember from our conversation, actually, there was a piece there about temples for you. And so maybe, a little bit about that, because of course you can take this work anywhere, and you will. It's not, I'm not saying that this is the only place where you'll do it, but I feel like there is a relationship between you and the work that you're bringing, and this temple. And even though, again, we've never met physically, but so what? Like, I feel like I know you from the inside because of everything you say. Again, it could just come out of my mouth. And there's a love there. There's such a deep love for what you stand for, from my part. And as one of the guardians here of Nicola Temple, I know that there was a piece there for you as well with the temple. So if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. In a way, the answer to this question is not one of words. Like, I remember our conversation, our call started with you saying, hey, let's just take 5 minutes to be in our essence and feel what wants to happen here. We didn't have an agenda for this call. We didn't have the goal to figure out how to work together, or let's create a training and let's structurize this now. But it was just like, let's talk. There's this felt sensation that the two of us need to meet. And you started this call with what I remember really touched me deeply, was just saying, can we just be here and feel why we're here and what wants to happen. And I remember just feeling this deep heart transmission and this deep flow of an aliveness through my body that just said, like, heart and mind want to be connected here, just listen and go. And what followed was just basically us celebrating that moment and sharing about our relationship to death and what we're here for. But it felt like everything had already been said that needed to be said by just being together. And I think that gave me a deep level of trust that what you're doing is sincere and real, and is coming from love for this world and for the purpose we're all in for, and not coming from personality-driven interest in how to expand work and things that are happening. And so it was coming from heart and soul, that call. And that was really where I felt like, okay, this is happening. I don't need to clear many details. I just started marinating on, okay, what wants to happen there? Just tell me. And we had 2 calls in total. We had 1 call getting to know each other and 1 call clearing the details of the collaboration. And in between, everything else was just clear. And to bring that to temples, for me, temples, although this word is starting to be just put into everything that happens nowadays that has anything to do with sexuality, self-development, or anything alike. I feel when you use the word temple, you use it in the original meaning, which is a place where we come together in service and not for ourselves, where we come together acknowledging that we come together in service of something bigger, in a devotion of our heart to something that wants to be birthed into this world that is more than us. We don't come to get something. We don't come to receive something, to leave richer than before. In a way, we come to leave poorer than before. We come to give. And that original meaning of temple is what I feel this world needs and this work needs. Like, we need to start doing this work not to become more performing, happy, successful individuals. We need to start doing this work to leave poorer than before, to leave with less identity, less self, less wanting, less needing. We need to do this work to come in service and to give and to say, okay, I've done this journey of falling in love with myself and getting attached to this idea that I am. And now I'm going to start acknowledging that I am actually not, but I am part of what is, and I'm going to be in service of that. And that's for me what temple is. And just by sitting down with me and saying, let's feel what wants to be birthed here, I felt that you are creating temple there, and that I want to be part of this, and that my work has to be in service of that.
Yeah, so I start crying again, which is always for me, this kind of crying, it's not like a particular story. It's a soul, for me, it's a sign when my soul is touched in particular ways. Weeping is a very natural response from the emotional body. And temple, as you said, it being in service to something greater, not just about how to, create more ego or become more individually successful, the latest trick or trade that you can put out in the marketplace, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what is happening all around us is demanding that we step up. That isn't going to cut it anymore. And temple is also a place where the future, the time to come, the way we will be living, humanity's next steps are experimented with now. We don't have a map. We have guidance surely from the ethers and from the land itself and from, all kinds of support, incarnated or not, but we don't have a how-to instruction manual. We've got to explore it. We've got to experiment with it. And that's, for me, and for many, that's what temple is about, and what you're describing of what you're bringing. And as I've said to you before, I hope this is a long-term relationship, and who knows what will happen, of course, but it's seeding the world to come. It's preparing and then stepping into it. That first week is preparing, like, okay, taking off these layers, and then stepping into it, and then connecting to the greater plan, or vibration, love, which we have strayed, taken some detour from. As you said, it's not that we are broken or, we're not there. It's just we've taken a scenic route and a little distracted by the views to realize it. So yeah, it's just very touching. And yes, this work, your work, and work like this belongs in temples. That's what we're here for. And one day there will be many authentic, real modern day temples that are devoted to experimenting, exploring the cutting edge of the humanity that is being birthed now through these experiments. And so who's ready to say, yeah, I want to seed that, I want to birth that, I want to midwife that.
Yes.
I'm not just going to wait for it to be served to me on a platter. Like, here's the first, course, here's the second course, enjoy that, everything's all done up, ready to go. Great. But we've all like it or not, actually chose to incarnate during this time because we're meant to be a part of this one way or another. And so who is ready to say, actually, yeah, I know that. I actually know that. And I'm ready to say yes with my energy, with my money, with my all inness, with whatever it means that, you know, babysitter or, you know, dog sitter or plant sitter or whatever sitter you got to arrange, so that this becomes a priority in your life, because this is about how we're going to live as a humanity. This is about how we're, it's about our evolution now, not like now.
Yeah, I love that you brought the word midwife and the context of birthing. And I feel like that's exactly what we are about to witness, is that the whole human soul is ringing on the door and is waiting for us to midwife it into manifestation. And right now, humanity is a scattered, fragmented collection of separate entities that are not aware that they are supposed to form one body for the one human soul to descend into, to be birthed into. So for me, temples and this work is stepping into this midwifery, and death is the cosmic midwife that invites us into, okay, now you've had your playtime, now come offer your body into this expansive death of becoming the vessel for the whole human soul to be embodied in, so that we can actually, as one humanity, build a profound, deeply ecological relationship to this earth, which is also waiting in line with its whole soul to be birthed into a whole, non-scattered, self-aware earth. And this journey is so fucking beautiful, and it's such a turn on to participate in that. This is so much bigger than being focused on who can I become by the moment that I die and lose everything. Like, what is it about? Like, how about I become everything, part of everything that is, and participate in the birth of a more whole earth and more whole humanity?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I often say when I'm leading groups, is, you know, I inevitably always refer to death, because it's like, it's the biggest kind of like bring you into alignment real quick, bring you into priorities real quick. And okay, and your deathbed, what are you going to be able to take with you? All those page likes or followers or fans, or I don't know, you know, whatever, subscribers, you know, all that money or that whatever, that what are you taking with you? Let's just, you know, even the pharaohs who are buried with golds and riches, and, you know, what are you taking with you? So let's focus on that now.
It's almost like, it's like the cosmic joke. You hoard all your things to be safe in your individuality in your life, and then you move through this expansive, beautiful death moment, and you realize you are this human whole soul that is still waiting for humanity to awaken and offer a body to be born as. And again, you move through another cycle of individuality, getting distracted and getting something for yourself, instead of participating and building a vessel for the bigger self you are, that is waiting for a body to be offered.
And not only are you, you know, not only at that body level and the hoarding of the material and like the I, the me, the mine, but it's also like there is so much freely given. I mean, if you just could know the truth of your abundance and of your infinite just capacity of like this little, you know, whatever that you've got, you know, like really, you know, really.
Yeah.
You were maybe going to give us a taster to have us kind of you know, maybe taste a little of the journey.
There's one last thing I want to say, though, after us getting so turned on and excited and sharing the joy of what it means to actually realize this and start understanding that there's nothing you could ever lose. You are always dying into more, into expansion. But for everyone living in this flesh and body, being born into this culture, that's not a real experience we've been growing up with. So I want to acknowledge that everyone watching this and thinking about joining this training has a very real, very everyday experience of fear of death. And so this training is not going to be us standing there saying how amazing it is to not be individual. It's really going to be us acknowledging that right now, all of us, including myself, we are still utterly attached to this individuality, and the fear and the pain of that is real. And so what can we do now together to regulate our experience, collect our attention, and move through this really viscerally scary moments of death approaching, and us knowing that whatever I thought I am so far is actually going to die now and end, because it was an idea, it was a perceptual illusion, it was a construction, it's not real. And yet it's scary for consciousness to be confronted with that. So yeah, I just want to honor everyone who's starting to feel a viscerality right now, thinking like, hey, I don't want to move towards death, because we are just still participating in a culture that tells us that that's the one thing to avoid, that we should continue hoarding. And yeah, I just wanted to name that.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, for those who are saying, I don't want to move towards death, it's like, well, you don't, that's not, since you were born, since the first breath, you've been moving towards death. And so the choice is do it unconsciously and be surprised by it when it happens, or do it consciously and maximize the time in between. And if you believe in incarnations, what awaits in the next round, you know? And that doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It doesn't mean I don't feel fear. It doesn't mean I don't feel in the contemplation of the mortality of my loved ones, for example. And I know you're recently become a father, and you know, I'm sure there, you know, like, it's not that we don't feel, or not suggesting that somebody wouldn't feel fear, but that you're not led by it, or that doesn't it's not what sits on the throne, and then decisions are made from that space, because it is going to happen anyway.
And I even would say actually being led by fear, but by its true wisdom underneath our learned response to avoid fear, actually moving into the true message, the true wisdom that fear has, which is pay attention, be here now, focus, this matters, this is important, this is about you. So don't run away, turn around, orient yourself towards what you're afraid of, and face it, and breathe, and be here. And that's, for me, what fear actually is trying to tell us, what we have unlearned, what we have forgotten. And that's what we want to rebuild in this training, to get really excited and turned on by fear, and notice, oh, fear is here, something important is about to happen, my attention is required now.
I felt like that was just what you just guided us through that. Like, turn around, open. And I was like, okay, he's doing it, I'm in it. Oh,
yes, and that's exactly what we want to do, practice our attention with these instincts. And maybe that's the experience now we can give as a little taster. And I'm very happy.
And I just want to say, if anybody does have any questions,
you're
welcome to put them in the chat. And after the taster, I'll also check on the Facebook page to see if there's any comments. Great. And also in the future, as you watch this replay, you're welcome to put in your comments. And Lennart, or if there's something I can support with, I'll get back to you. But most likely Lennart will reply with something. And really, even if you're seeing this a month or 2 months down the line, or even after the training has started, if you want to be involved, then please leave your comment, leave your question. Yeah.
So, as I said, attention is going to be our most important skill to work with in this training. And I'm very happy to see that my friend Peter Heinz has joined this Zoom call, because he is the one who supported me in running this 3-month masterclass, and he introduced me into a very simple yet profound synchronizing meditation that originally comes from Thomas Hübel, and that he has been bringing into our training. And I have fallen in love with this short practice so much that I use it everywhere. I start every day in my trainings and my retreats with this meditation now. I start every coaching session with this short meditation, because it's really so simple and clear to bring into presence and alignment what we need to work with. So yeah, maybe just the two of us do it now. So one thing that we work with in this work is our breath and our sound, because those are, I'm not going to explain why exactly now, but those are the most simple, visceral experiences that we can have that bring us in touch with our body and that regulate our nervous system into more slowness and more safety. So we're going to start with some breathing, and then we're going to move into this meditation. And I invite you to just close your eyes for a moment and put a hand on your heart. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths into the heart, and then 3 into the belly, and then 3 into the pelvic floor, and just feel our voice. So taking a deep breath in. Breath in. Deep breath in. Moving your hand to your belly, taking 3 deep breaths with sound from the belly. Your hands to your hips or your genitals, breathing all the way down into the pelvic floor. Following that last breath inside into your body, moving your attention inside, becoming aware of the experience your body is having right now. Picking up the subtle bodily sensations, your 5 senses, movement impulses, energy, vibration. Also becoming aware, what are you doing when I say feel your body? What's that little switch in your mind that you engage to feel inside, to notice your sensations? your skin, your weight, paying attention what areas in your body feel alive. Where do you feel life force, vibration moving through your body? Just feeling it, sensing it, paying attention to it. Also noticing where you feel contracted, where your life force is constricted, where you feel more tight, or even numb, stressed. Just paying attention to these sensations or lack of sensations without any judgment, without it needing to be any different. And with this awareness over your flesh and blood experience of your body, slowly expanding your awareness to also include emotions, feelings, the emotional body, sadness, joy, fear, boredom, ecstasy, anger, these emotions that have a label, an interpretation, preference. Just becoming aware how they relate to the body. Just letting them be there, witnessed without needing to be any different. Without letting go of the awareness of your body and your emotions, expanding your awareness further and also including your thoughts and your mind, ideas and wishes, preferences, stories. Just noticing their presence, their relationship to your emotions and your body. last but not least, becoming aware of the part that is aware, becoming aware of your awareness. Noticing the quality of being aware has. Your own pace, I invite you to open your eyes and notice the shift in the quality of your experience. Looking at someone looking at you, becoming aware of being witnessed, becoming aware of being a relational entity. The subtle difference in the quality of experience, being aware that you are in connection with someone, even if it's just through a camera and a monitor. Becoming aware of the sound of the water behind me, which that is becoming the dominant part of my experience right now. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Taki'h, for joining me.
I'm gonna check if there's anything on the Facebook real quick.
Great.
And I just want to say, when I open my eyes, I have a plant in front of me, and it looks so vivid. And it just, when you talked about the relationship, and it just felt like my heart was like, and yeah, it's super powerful.
Hey.
And maybe you want to remind us of the dates and how people
Hey.
can connect to Undivided, you or.
Yes, so now I have to bring my thinking mind back into operation first. So what we've just done, this short little meditation, was one of the many ways that we're going to work with attention. And one other facet that we haven't spoken so much about is embodiment, actual interpersonal felt experience in our body with increased attention, with the awareness of a group field that is working together. And we have 3 modules. I don't have all the dates in my mind right now. I know that we are coming together for our first module on April 26th. The training is starting on April 27th. That's when the first module in Finland starts at Nikila Temple. And arrival will be in the evening of the 26th April. We will spend a whole week together, 7 full days of experience inside and being relational. And the way to join our training is to fill out the application. You will find the application link in the Facebook event. It's undivided.paperform.co. And it's a very short application where you schedule a call with me. We will have a short interview where we will answer your questions, get to know each other, and feel if this training is the right next step for you. And if we both feel a hell yes for each other for doing this journey together, then you can join us. You can fill out the rest of the application. It's very straightforward. And we have a maximum number of participants of 25 people due to the size of the space, but also to guarantee a certain quality of container, a certain quality of presence with each other, certain quality of space holding. So don't wait too long. It's still 3 months away, but these spaces might fill up fast. Let's see.
I trust that whoever is meant to be here and with you will be here. The way Bruce Lyon puts it, and it's not original from him, but the names are already on the cushion, on the meditation cushions. Your names are already written there. It's just a matter for you to notice. I did see the dates, but what I want to say, I was looking at these dates that I just pulled up from the event, and when we were sitting down with the practicalities of the dates, and I was like, because you were picking, you wanted solstice, you wanted to be here in the solstice, and I was like, oh my God, yes, like, yes, that's what temples are for. Like, you need to, you were like, yeah, we need to do solstice. I'm like, right. And then the last part is starting right after the Lion's Gate on the 9th, and it was like, my God, like you were picking some like really powerful portals to support this process. So yeah, feeling super excited about that alignment too.
Yeah, I'm also really grateful that you were so generous with these important dates to say like, okay, this training is happening during these dates. Like, yeah, it's beautiful to have the alignment of the cosmos behind us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lennart. Thank you.
So,
Meet the faculty. This is what the series is. You're the first one to come on because you're the first group. And like this, we're going to do a series of those who are coming to support us to start experimenting with the era that we are birthing and when we are midwiving now. To do that now, and you're one of those incredible beings. So thank you so much for taking the time today, and look forward to meeting you and everybody else who has a hell yes for Undivided. What an epic title, Undivided.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me and inviting me to this interview as well. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, and you're going to Colombia
next week, actually in 3 days, I'm going to Colombia. Yeah.
Right. That was another thing.
Spend...
Like, yeah, that resonance of South America. Yeah. To spend, yes, I'm sorry.
We're gonna spend 2 weeks with very deep immersion around deep ecology, around feeling this earth as what we are, and we're going to spend the first time combining this work with plant medicine and indigenous shamanistic teachings, and working with ayahuasca and yopo, and using that as an opening valve for our consciousness to become aware of this living planet. And I'm going to bring this experience, I'm going to bring these transmissions of deep ecology to this training. I'm really excited about that part.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And nothing.
Thank you, Taki'h.
Bye.
See you soon.
Yes, very soon.